What is going on, guys? In this video I will show you some advanced tips and tricks I use for beating Darkest Dungeon 2. So there is a disclaimer here, the game is still in early access, so these tips might not work anymore in the time being, but they work right now, and even with the latest update they work. And now with the new update you need to beat Aorus in order to reach the final area. What is the mountain? What is fine, because one of the tips is that you want to go beat Aorus because they make you stronger in the game. So you want to do them anyway. So if that sounds interesting, let's get into the video. So how I want to go through this guide is from the starting point of the game to the final boss, at least for the first run, what is available, what is called Denial, and talk about how to use the tips and tricks during the play stages. Mostly, it is just about mechanics you should take notice of and how to use them better so you get stronger in the game, so it's easier to beat the game, and that's all it. So the first thing, what is a no-brainer, and it happens on its own when you just play the game. You want to unlock every hero of the game, what is reached at level 10, and you level up by just playing the game, like I said, and gain hope as XP. So if you have all the heroes, you want them to have all the abilities unlocked. You do this by visiting shrines during runs and complete the story chapters of the characters. And the reason why you want all of this is because now you have all characters and abilities. So this means you can create better builds and synergies with them, because now you can use them at their full potential. The second tip from the start is that you want to look at the quirks the characters have at the start before you choose your squad. Quirks are positive and negative passive bonuses, so you want to take notice on what quirks a character has from the start, because this can mean they will deal extra damage or are better in taking the front line, etc. These quirks can really change the game at the start, so I recommend just take notice of them and make a good synergy with the squad with good quirks. There's also negative ones. You might just skip choosing a hero what has bad quirks, but anyway, you can remove the quirk, so it doesn't really is an issue. But if they are really bad to get through the early game, I wouldn't choose for this hero. So after you're done creating your squad, you will get into the route, the valley, what is just the intro route of the game. I will not talk about it because there is nothing to talk about. The only thing you can get from here is good starting items, and we can use them in the first inn. So right now we are in the first inn, so when you reach this you can use your inn items. So the first thing you want to take notice is that you want to get virtue relationships with the characters as fast as possible, because this will benefit like healing in battle, stress heal in battle, and damage bonuses. You do this mostly by inn items, so you can use them right now when you are in the inn, and try buy good ones in the provision tab right at the get-go. Maybe you can get a positive relationships at the start, what is already a good thing. Also, a good method to gain positive relationships is in the routes themselves, because if you reach locations like battles and assistance locations, then the character will prefer on a choice what they want in this location. And if you pick the one that more guys like, then all of them are going to gain positive relationships bonuses, and if they do not like the choice, they're gonna be down. So right before you choose a choice, check the tab and see which characters can give you a virtue relationship, or if you get them on a bad relationship, that's not what you want, then you want to alter your choice in which will benefit the most. You know, there is a little thing in the game, and that is called RNG. You know, I didn't know you have heard of it, but it's there. Kind of like a slot machine, you can say it is. But the game is kind of luck based, so it can be happening that these things are not happening. So now for the tips for the roads, or let's say dungeons. There are 5 dungeons in the game right now. Those are the fodder. I might pronounce this wrong. It's the Plague Meat Monster dungeon. The Tangle, what is the Jungle dungeon? The Sprawl, what is the Burning City? The Slouch is the Swine dungeon, referring to the Warrens from the first game. And the Mountains, what is the final dungeon, where the final boss is. So the 3 main dungeons are the Footer, the Tangle, and the Sprawl. So before entering these dungeons, you need to look at your squad, what abilities they have. Because in the Footer, they will be more resistant to blight damage and will also be likely to deal blight damage. The same goes for the other two. Triangle will focus on bleeding and a Sprawl will focus on burn damage. So for picking a dungeon, choose the one your squad can be stronger against, so it's easier to win battles in this dungeon. Also, before choosing a dungeon, take notice to the bonus within the dungeon and the reward from completing the challenge. If dungeons have bonuses like reduced bleed resistance in a dungeon, or they won't even deal bleed damage and you do, it is really like easier to beat that one. And also, if the rewards are beneficial, like gaining mastery points. Mostly the reward, if it's mastery points, is all good. Talking about mastery points, the first one you get in the first inn, I recommend to put it in a high damage ability so you can already one-shot enemies. This is better because mastery points, mostly if you upgrade abilities, they have some sort of combo thing, but you know, you just have one. So it's better to choose an ability what stands out on its own. And that's mostly high damage ability. You can also use the mastery point to upgrade a debuff one. This can also lead to maybe one-shotting an enemy or just make him completely useless from the debuffs for a couple of turns. What is really good to win battles early on. To gain mastery points, you can get them from shrines, cultist encounters, resistant encounters, and beating lairs, and also beating all the 3 waves in the final locations of the dungeon, and also road battles. What you want to do always, because you can get items from road battles as well. The next tip is about how to go on about in the first dungeon. So it's like your road navigation. So you aren't very strong yet from the start and you want to get stronger. So how we're going to do this is by getting mastery points, virtue relationships, and better trinkets. So this is mostly done by visiting battles, including road battles, assistant encounters, can give you good items as well, and maybe some good trinkets. And also you can visit a chest at the start if you can, if you're lucky, because they will mostly give you good items. And for general, if you got a lot of relics, what is kind of the money thing, and bubbles, what is used to buy trinkets, you can just go to a hoarder if it is there, and field hospital to get rid of diseases, and also get rid of bad quirks is also a good thing. I wouldn't recommend locking a good one. I don't know, mostly you don't get like good quirks consistent. You can only get 3 quirks, 3 good ones and 3 bad ones. So, you know, I mean, you're not gonna really get 3 positive quirks. At least not for me anyway. So it's not worth it to lock one. And it is really expensive. You better just remove a bad one instead of just locking a good one. Otherwise, save some money so you can use it in the provision tab in the inns to get items there. That's also really good. So I don't recommend defeating a lair at the start. You're mostly going to die or your squad just hates themselves because there was a lot of stress damage in this fight and everyone melted down, so everyone hates each other now. So that's definitely what you don't want. So it's better to just get some good items first for virtue relationships and good trinkets, and also have some good mastery points to spend in the inn as well. So the second route and the third route, you want to go more into completing lairs, because now in the newest update you have to do them and you will get a trophy from the boss, what will give you more passive bonuses. But not only that, defeating a boss in these lairs will give you better items and trinkets and mastery points, so you want to do them anyway. You also want to go for academic studies. You mostly want to go for them most of the time if you don't have good trinkets, because these things will give you good trinkets. If you already have good trinkets, don't go here. Mostly academic studies will give you stress damage or some annoying quirk, so you have to keep that in mind. You also want to beat the final wave at the last locations of a dungeon. It also gives you better items, mastery points, and overall, try to go for road battles as much as possible. They will give you items, money, and might give you mastery points, so that's all good. And if you're like low, try altering your road where you don't have to do road battles, so you can heal up a bit and then just go at it again, I guess. So normally you need to complete 3 main dungeons plus defeating a lair to get to the mountain. There's also an optional dungeon, the Slice. This is the side dungeon where there is no map and some random layout with battles, shrines, and studies. I do say go for this dungeon always. It can give you some extra mastery points as well, and items, trinkets, so just do them if you can. I do recommend not to go there for your first dungeon, because you probably are not strong enough to beat the Schweins. So you want to do them as a second or third dungeon, or after them, I mean, because it's an extra dungeon. An overall tip is to use battle items better. By better, I mean is just like use them in battles, because it makes battles really easier. You do want to save some battle items for stronger encounters like bosses and lairs, and for the final wave in the last location. That's also a good tip. Now the final route, what is the final dungeon? The mountain. So up to this point, if everything went well and RNG, you know, was kinda saying, pal, I like you and I'm in your favor. So for the most part, your squad has virtual relationships, good trinkets, upgraded abilities, and some strong battle items to face the final boss. The final tip on the encounters you face there are going to be to save battle items like healing and damage buffs in boss fights, in the final boss fight I mean, and use the other ones for beating the first two battles for the big guy you face in there. In the first two fights, I recommend you take down the small fry first before you attack the big guy, because the small fry, if they attack, they can buff the big guy up and heal it as well, so there's no point to go for the big guy first. There's also a chance you get two big guys, well, then you're pretty much fucked, yo. I mean, you're done. No, I'm just kidding. Well, the fight is annoying, but you just have to focus on the mage one. It's the guy without the axe, because he can deal a lot of damage and he's quicker to take down, because the guy with the axe has a buff per round where he will reduce 50% of your range damage or melee damage. So it's better to just focus the guy who doesn't have that buff, because it's much quicker. So there's some spoilers ahead if you don't want to see the final boss. So click away and go to my intro if you're still interested in watching that anyway. So if you don't want to get spoiled, just click away right now. Okay, they're probably gone now. So the final boss, well, I think this is by far the most annoying thing in the game. So for me, at least for me anyway. Hello. I ended up saying change instead of chains, but they're actually shackles. So it didn't make any sense either way. But, you know, it's just like, I wanted to tell you guys that they're shackles. They're not chains, or maybe they are, but they're definitely not change.
I don't like change!
So how I recommend beating this thing is for focus on the change, what mostly will block your main damage output like melee or range, because every round go between change and just block melee, range, healing, or stress heal. So you want to take the ones down first what will negate your melee or range, because if you cannot do damage, you're not gonna kill them. So you want to take them out first. There's also the healing one. Well, if you take him down, he will heal up the other ones. So it's like you want either want to kill him while you're not damaging other ones, or you just want to leave him for last if you can. So if you do kill the change, the other change will be debuffed, just like the ones that will heal them. So they will get buffed, like their increased damage, and they will get debuff chances on their attacks. The fight gets harder, but also easier because you have to deal with less change. So it's less attacks, but their attacks are going to be more annoying. But guys, that was up the guide for the advanced tips and tricks for beating Darkest Dungeon 2. So if you do enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment if you got more tips to share or something wasn't clear, so I can answer that if you want. And there is gonna be coming up a video where I just go do a walkthrough guide and just talk through a whole run, a denial run. So here I will just talk about these tips and also more tips, and just overall just talking about how to complete the run. You can check that video out if it's out, but otherwise I thank you guys for watching and subscribe for more content, and I see you all next time. Bye bye.